Good evening. This is the April 8th Board of Water Commissioners meeting, Town of Raleigh. Present tonight are the three commissioners, our acting superintendent, and our administrative assistant, and we have Mr. Hargraves as our special technical person overseeing the construction of the water plant. Also we have Mr. Snow, chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and this is Jamie Snow, Finance Committee. First order of business is accept the minutes of the March 27th, 2014 meeting. Did you folks have a chance to go through that?
I have on page 2, the last paragraph. Immediate cost savings of 20,000. I believe the immediate cost savings is 10,000. The second year would be 20,000 instead of 30.
Okay, so there's a correction needed.
Which one was that on?
Page 2 of the last paragraph.
The Penachuk benefit, instead of 20,000, it's real, the first year was 10,000 and the second year is 20?
Correct.
Okay. So the 20 should be 10 and the 30 should be 20. Mark, did you have any comments?
No.
All right, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. What I'd like to do is, Mr. Snow came in, I'd like to ask Mr. Snow, do you have something here that for us?
Mr. Chairman, a letter from the Board of Selectmen. Would you permit me, I'd like to read it to you. Last night we had a weekly Board of Selectmen meeting. This came to our attention, so we'd like a response from the Board of Water Commissioners. And this is in reference to requests for price quotations for licensed water operators. Dear Chairman Toomey, Commissioner Ricker, and Commissioner Dalzell, the Board of Selectmen was shocked to learn that the interim water superintendent has issued a request for price quotations for licensed water operators. The Water Department's intention to undertake this solicitation was not brought up during our two recent joint meetings. We on the Board of Selectmen find this troubling. We have a series of questions and concerns that we request to be addressed by you. Bullet 1. Did the Board of Water Commissioners vote to authorize the interim water superintendent to solicit contract water operators? Bullet 2. Has Weston Sampson provided the Water Board with the staffing plan for the water treatment plant? If so, does it call for contract operations? Bullet 3. What is the status of the water treatment plant maintenance and operations manual? The Board is concerned about the solicitation from both a procurement and personnel standpoint. Please explain the following. 1. Why there was a 24-hour deadline for the vendor responses. 2. Who will be evaluating the responses to the solicitation? Secondly, the job duties of the water operators are considered collective bargaining work. The Water Board should have come to the Selectmen to discuss this because this needs to be discussed with the union. We cannot proceed with contract water operators until these issues are settled with the union. Please send a written response to the questions outlined in this letter to the Board of Selectmen as soon as possible. Regards, Robert Snow, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. And last night, the board met. I don't know if any of you watched the meeting, where we were very concerned about this. Yesterday afternoon, I heard just an inkling of this, and I called Stu, Commissioner Dalzell, and I called yourself, I couldn't get, you were busy, Tim, and I called Stu, and he had no knowledge of this. So the Board of Selectmen would like a written response as soon as you can to these questions,
Okay.
okay?
We'll discuss it tonight.
With that, I will leave you, all right?
Okay.
All right.
I'm sure there's an explanation for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Take care.
There you go.
Well,
Good evening. Would you like to do the warrant first?
maybe, well, that we still talk, let's talk a little bit about this first. So I guess we need to respond in writing. I think that it was my understanding that we have a budget item in our budget that talks about contract ops in case we need to have some assistance with engineering or whatever services on an emergency basis. So that was the intent of getting some prices from.
Well, first, no one called me.
Yeah.
I could have come to the meeting last night. I've been very transparent with what I'm doing. People heard things. I wasn't sneaking around.
Okay.
It comes from a need to protect ourselves in terms of contingencies. It's only a contingency.
Yeah.
The contingency comes from, there's two reasons for doing this. First of all, I checked the purchasing regulations, and it's within those rules and regulations. I believe we talked about it on the phone. The budget line items for $25,000 on FY14 and FY15, and and therefore private operations. And we have a situation where we believe we can run the treatment plant with our existing staff. That's true. But we need a contingency plan. As of next week, you will not have an interim water superintendent. Historically, the water superintendent had a drinking water license, treatment license, so he could fill in as a backup if necessary. So we've got 3 operators who can probably do the job if everything goes to plan. If everything doesn't go to plan, we're vulnerable.
I thought we talked about a part-time guy.
Okay, well, I'll address that, and that's true. The goal for the treatment plant is to eventually allow it to be run without someone being there. But until the plant and the system and the staff proves themselves to DEP, they won't let us operate it manually. They won't let us operate automatically. Someone's got to be there. We believe, as we've been through this a few times, we believe that the treatment plant can run 8 hours a day and not the weekends, and still supply enough water without running an excessive amount of overtime. But if something should go wrong, let's say somebody quits, breaks a leg, gets sick, or the treatment plant doesn't perform as good as it should, so on and so forth, we would need a contingency plan. Let's say it does go. We originally thought it might be 12 hours a day. Let's say it doesn't go to 12. Let's say it goes to that. It actually goes to that. We don't have enough people to provide the overtime. So this was a contingency. I've got it all written here. I've got exactly what I have a package for you. It's not like I was trying to hide it. This was something I was going to bring to you
we talked
anyway.
about it. So.
It's just a bit of a surprise here. But anyway, it's a contingency, and what the other purpose for it is not just paperwork, but we have to give DEP a staffing plan. And the staffing plan reflects the reality that if everything goes smoothly, we're all set. If everything doesn't go smoothly, we better have our ducks in a row. And to have your ducks in a row, you've got to present that to DEP and they approve it. And this is a means of demonstrating that we're prepared for an emergency. Are we going to hire someone? No. Are we going to retain someone? Yes. And again, contract ops takes on many, many forms. Not so many forms, but many forms. One of them is full-blown, somebody takes over the management and the whole thing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about hiring a part-time operator from someone to augment our staff temporarily, if needed, temporarily, until we can get through the summer and get to the point where the treatment plant is proven and to where we can run it without someone being there.
Yeah.
And that at the same time, that plan would allow you to prove if we do or do not need an extra person. So by the end of the summer, we would know for sure how the treatment plant works and if we indeed had to hire another person. Because we are bordering between the three to four persons. We would still utilize the 15-hour per week, almost half-time person when they're available. And that is a part-time town employee without benefits. In fact, there's been some dialogue. The one that we had planned coming wants a raise. He doesn't want to come for what we're offering him. So part of what I'm doing here is finding someone to fill that 15 hours per week.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to come, we need to get somebody else either like him or we need to maybe fulfill it with a contract service. Like I mean, this is not, I think this is like a miscommunication between us and downtown. I think
Well, this is what I was going to submit to downtown. It's not like it's a secret. This is, a lot of work goes into communicating.
No, it's just,
And,
we didn't hear nothing until Mr. Snow brought it up. I mean, the first I heard of it.
Well, like I said, I could have gone to that meeting last night if somebody communicated to me that there was a question.
Yeah, so there was no.
Phones work two ways.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I didn't know nothing about it.
Let me throw some explanation to it. Last year, we had the misfortune of being very short-staffed. And
Oh, I realize that.
we had to have Weston and Sampson here.
Well, I have a bid from them, actually.
Yeah, part of the process of getting them approved to work on a temporary basis was to get quotes. And we got quotes from Weston and Sampson and a few other outfits. And as a consequence of that, Weston rose the occasion once again and helped us out with low rates, and we brought in a guy named Mr. Provost.
Right.
Okay, so this was in an effort to address this coming year's budget, to get some pricing in place before we had to make a decision on whether we had to hire those contracts at all. So it's, I think what's happened is it transformed into something else downtown. But I think it's
Pretty easily explained.
And it's easily explained, right? So
according to I brought this for two reasons tonight, because we want to talk about fuel and auto repairs. But according to this, chapter 30B, well, first of all, I can't approve a pencil. I can't authorize anything. I can only do the background work and bring it to you, and if it's necessary, you bring it downtown. I can't approve a single thing. I can't award nothing. So I have very little, I have no authority in approving and spending any money. So all I can do is put it together and do that. But anyway, according to 30B, it says that, let's see, services valued between $10,000 and $24,000, $24,999. The department head, that would be me actually, seeks 3 written or oral price quotes. I got 1, 2, 3. I requested 5. Oral price quotes based on the same specifications. I have a written specification here that was
That's the
sent to
email I saw.
each one of them. This is the one that was sent to them. They all get the same thing. There's a copy right here.
is that the excuse me, Mark? Is that the email I got that show what you gave to all three of them?
Yeah,
Okay.
all five of them, actually.
Sorry, yeah. Okay.
I follow these up with phone calls as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
Based on a written contract not to exceed 3 years is required. So I'm well within my scope of work to do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's no
I hate
contract.
to start
At this
meeting
point-
defending myself.
No, but there's no contract at this point. You're just soliciting.
That's correct.
I can't approve, I mean, here's the purchase order. I went through the whole process. I was gonna give this to you to approve tonight with a discussion to back that up.
Okay.
Why did it have to be done so quickly? Because the plant's coming online next week. And
you'll leave
we need to visit with DEP and present to them a contingency plan. And there's a, what do you call it? There's a, yeah. I want to say a landmine, what's it called? But anyway, there's a fault in our plan, which is if something goes wrong, we don't have anything to back it up. So that's all I was doing.
You weren't.
That's all I was researching. I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, but you know, I think this is like a little bit of a miscue here. But you know, we're going to address this. Maybe I should go to the meeting on Monday night. And you're going to be gone at that point.
I will be gone.
Weston's been directing us to get this going.
You know,
In, discussions with the DEP and their experience in setting up plants, they need the staffing plan.
right. You know, the other thing is the staffing plan. They were looking at when the staffing plan is typically arriving here at the department. When do you think the staffing plan should be?
When do you think we should have had the staffing plan done?
Yeah.
Last month would have been good.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm. And I'm not necessarily the one writing the staffing plan.
No, you aren't. It's Rustin Sampson.
No, it's the town. The town needs to submit that. The rest of the Sampson can't do that.
Okay, so who's doing the staffing plan?
Well, I've been doing it with Glenn. The primary operator needs to submit the staffing plan with regard to licensed operators, not with backup staff, with licensed staff. And as you all know, I was extremely busy with the short notice I had during the budget. So I've been very preoccupied with things, and I got to this as well as a few other things. And there's a list of other things that have to be satisfied with DEP, but we need to, well, actually, it came up, we asked questions at the last meeting, at the last progress report meeting for construction. We said, what's the process here? And they said, we reviewed the process, and that's when it came up maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It came up about 2 weeks ago to say, well, DEP is not going to tell us anything. We've got to submit to them our plan. We don't wait for a plan from them. We have to give it to them and say, and they have to approve it or not approve it. It's not, they don't create staffing plans. We just got to make sure that we're covered. That's all I'm doing here is making sure that we're covered.
Okay, so the staffing plan, how many pages is that?
One.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just an email. I actually wrote a draft one last week.
Okay. I think I've seen the staffing.
That's why we got to here, because I drove the staff, I wrote
Yeah.
the draft staffing plan. There may be a little confusion as to who submitted, me or Glenn, but the fact is, it's got, I was, with this, if this was approved, and judging by what just happened, I don't think it's gonna be, I would write the staffing plan tonight and send it in.
Yeah.
But the staffing plan I'm gonna write now is gonna have a vulnerability in it.
Okay.
And that's all I'll submit, and then DEP may or may not approve it.
All right. Okay, so the staffing plan is only a 1 or 2 page document, a cover letter.
There's no format, it's just you tell them what you're gonna
Yeah,
do.
okay.
I have a
And
draft copy.
since we're still in the midst of trying to, figure out what our needs are gonna be, because we haven't started this plant up yet, we don't know if it's gonna produce X amount of gallons or Y amount of gallons per day. We don't know until we start it up and find out, right?
You don't know what your invoice
We know-
that's what is.
We know what we're expecting. But
Yeah.
if something unexpected comes,
Yeah.
you need a backup
So-
plan.
So all this stuff that you were doing is on contingency, and it's related to what item on the budget?
The budget item, it's, for both fiscal, the very top page, on the bottom, line item 12, it says private treatment.
Okay.
And that's good for 25 grand for each year, for each fiscal year. The lowest price I got was, well, let's not discuss that. Well, I've already got bids, so. We're dealing with anywhere from $40 to $80 an hour for staffing.
So,
And it depends on if you're talking during the day or weekends and nights or
so
whatever.
let me cut you off on one
Yes,
thing.
sir.
You were soliciting a company with the insurances and everything to provide either a primary or a secondary operator.
Secondary operator.
A secondary operator,
Operators.
and you wanted rates from them.
Under the management of our current
Right, under the direction of our,
primary operator.
yeah, who is the guy that's in charge of our thing. So
Of
that's all you were
operations.
doing, you were
That's
trying to
all.
get rates from these different companies. Okay.
So the two that we have two secondaries, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
We don't have enough with the two of them.
In the long run, we have enough. But we don't know that for sure. I know at the beginning it's gonna be tight. We're also doing other things like, we're trying to do a flushing. We need to put a notice out, we need to do flushing in the spring and in the fall. There's a bit of a backlog with the people, the original, or the initial reason for the 15-hour person, which is, I don't know if you wanna call him third time or half time, but 15-hour week guy, operator, who was a guy at this point. He was there so that he could cover, as he has in the past, while our guys do training next week on the treatment plant. That was it.
With your recommendation, Mac, would we be better off with a part-time secretary? Or would we be better off with an all-around laborer that could do anything, when they have the water break,
Right.
do the running around or whatever.
The issue right now is making sure that if one of our guys gets sick or decides to go somewhere else, that we're covered, that we don't have to scramble. It's actually, it's like.
We need one primary and one secondary.
Right.
And the second secondary is the backup, correct?
Right, and then historically, the water commissioner was the backup to the backup, who could do rounds and things like that. And in a situation like this, let's say there was a water break, because we're discussing finding a full-time superintendent as well. Part of the requirement, Stu and I reviewed the scope of that position, and part of the requirement is within a certain amount of time, they must pass their grade 1 or grade 2 license. This way, if they're doing paperwork and the crew has a break out in the field, he or she could go up to the treatment plant, sit there, do his paperwork, monitor everything, and we're covered. Now again, this is only for the first few months until we can operate that plant without somebody physically being there all the time.
No, what I'm trying to ask you, Mac,
Yeah.
are we
Yes, sir.
better off with being a top dollar man they have here?
I know, she's saying that.
Or having a laborer that we can have for $12, $15 an hour that
Well-
can be doing the running around for these guys while they're taking care of up there.
And that's where I was headed, but kind of distracted myself. The answer to that question directly with the background I just gave you is that with this plan, we don't have to guess, we're gonna know. Come September, October, we're gonna know exactly what we need. And it'll be very clear to everybody. But, the hindsight's 20/20, the morning quarterback, the whole thing, everybody's gonna know what we can do. But sit here now and guess what's gonna happen.
No, what I'm trying to say is, I'd rather see an all-around man that we could bring up maybe through the ranks in a year or two or three, whatever.
It's always better
Let me-
than
let me-
otherwise.
Somebody that
let me-
we hire top dollar
Yeah.
and
Either one would work.
Let
It doesn't
me
matter.
interject for just 1 second, okay? We bring in a laborer here, and two guys are sick, and we get one guy's got an operating license and one guy that doesn't. The guy that doesn't have an operating license can't really help out doing the treatment. So it's almost like we're stuck having somebody with a license, you know?
It's just, you know, we got 3 now. Do we really need 4, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, we get 3.5 now. Or 3 1/3.
Yeah. Temporarily, we need more.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, when things settle out, does the town want to have a person that they're gonna have to lay off? Or someone that's hanging around? You know what I mean? You don't want to end up being overstaffed in 6 months.
That's why I'm trying to say a laborer that we can use for everything.
That's why I did this, so that we don't that we're not unnecessarily overstaffed with the benefits and the whole thing, the whole
If
package.
we don't go out, sweep the driveway, go out, sweep the driveway,
Yeah.
empty rubbish buckets,
Yeah.
get in the
So
hole and help somebody, you know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, your effort was to find out if there's a company out there that's got favorable rates for Raleigh that we could hire if we had an emergency. So we
Yes.
could go downtown and say to the town administrator, look, we have an emergency, we need this. We already have the rates in place. We don't have a contract with them, but they've supplied us a proposal, and we can go with that proposal. Is that what the thing was, or were you actually looking for a contract?
I'm looking for operators.
Okay.
See, you have to think in terms of what's a real contract operator. It's a very broad definition. If we need an extra person and a firm sends a qualified, insured, licensed person here, we're paying his company, oops, we're paying his company, but, it's all right. It's the cheap way out, it's the cheapest way out for
I
the
know, but
town.
the word contract is troublesome to them, versus you've solicited rates, and then they're ready to go
Mhm.
with those rates. They've given us a proposal, you just accept the proposal. So I think it's the contract word that they're very upset about. Okay? Not that, the way you think is that you need to have somebody ready to go under a contract.
All right, somebody calls in sick,
Yeah.
they call in today. You're not gonna have someone tomorrow unless you get this set up.
Right. So you're trying to set it up.
Yeah.
You haven't gone, you know, you have no intention of signing a contract.
I can't sign a contract, I'm not authorized.
You can't do a contract.
I can go do work, I
Let's
can't authorize
move
a
on.
single thing.
Yeah, having a laborer to cover for an operator is kind of, it's gonna,
No, but
You
I'm
need
just saying,
operators.
it's $80 an hour bit.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, and it's
yeah.
getting ridiculous.
Well, we had no choice last year. We
I
had
know,
to
but
do
it costs us way too much money.
Well, you can get a secondary operator for $40 an hour. And, well, okay. And, we still gotta work on the third time guy too, 15 hour
So
week thing.
he's not interested at that rate? Is that what you're saying?
He's requested $3 more an hour than we're offering.
Okay.
That's what's in the budget. It was my understanding that this was a continuation of what was there before, not a new offer. If it's a new offer, he has denied it and requested something different, in which case I'm looking at people. I have other candidates.
Okay. Yeah, but we have a rate for the secondary operator,
It's in the budget.
and that we can't move on
Turn to
$3.
page 2.
I know.
Turn to page 3.
I've seen it.
Page 3 dictates how much we can pay.
So he wants more than that rate?
That's right.
Okay.
Which
So
in
if
effect
you
is-
call him up 2 weeks from now and
Yeah.
say, you know something, we just can't do that. Are you interested at that rate or not? And he says yes or no. But you're looking for somebody now to take that rate as a secondary operator to step in when we need it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. There you go, we're covered. Right?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll address this letter by either writing a letter or, showing up at the meeting with you guys making a motion that I take care of.
Where's the communication? Where's the trust? I'm trying to do a good job for you guys. What's going on?
I have no problem with it.
What the heck is going on?
So do I have a motion for me to take care of this letter on behalf of the board?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on. Warrant purchase orders.
Right here, in this folder.
Roy, do your thing.
Long business phone, you ready for that one? 3810. AT&T 6678.
Okay.
Biomarine 7250. Boston Computer Scanning, second, third, fourth quarter subscription, $1,170.
Is this an extension of his work from before, Mark?
Because of everything that's going on here right now, I don't think it's a good time to be messing with our tools. This is, he's dropped his price a little bit. This is where you go out and you have on computer where the pipes are.
Oh, yeah.
If we're gonna be dealing with, new part-time people and this and that,
I talked to John about that when he was here,
it's,
and he says that that was a very good system to
it's a
have.
good tool. It's a little expensive, we can do better. I don't think it's
But
a good
he said,
time to
he
do
said it
that.
was a good tool to have.
Excellent
When they
tool.
have a water break.
We can do it cheaper, but for $1,200 a year, $100 a month to be able to find the pipes in the ground when you need to, and you don't have to be here for 10 years to find them. It's an excellent tool, and with everything that's going on, I don't think it's a good time. We don't have time to do it ourselves right now. I think next year would be a good time. I think you should buy the service. But that's up to you. I mean,
I think we should go for it.
they can go by the cards, they can do it manually.
Let's put it to a vote. Who wants to go for it?
I do.
All right, Stu?
What is it? $1,200 a year?
$100 a
I'm in
month.
favor of that.
Okay, so I'm not, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
No. So,
Cameron Office Products, SVC contractor base for supplies, $295. I don't know what that is.
is this another service thing? I think it's another service thing.
This is Cameron Office Products.
Yeah, so somebody's gonna service the, copy machine, huh?
I'm sorry.
Cameron Office Products?
SVC contractor base for supplies.
You have any idea what that is? I don't know what it is.
Well, we put a hold on that till the next meeting and have time to call and find out what it is.
Found
Is
utility.
that all right?
It's,
Yeah.
we'll just do another Tim Toomeyism, okay? You know, you look at a bill like this, and you give it to three guys that are working hard every day, and you look at it, and there's very little description on it. I know. So can you talk to Bridget and say, we don't mind, you know, approving things if we know what they are, and even the superintendent didn't know what this one was. So make an explanation of it. I can only postulate that this means it's like a little bit of a service contract with that copy machine in there, or toner supplies, okay? So, I'm gonna approve it, but if there's anything like that that isn't self-explanatory, we need to make sure that some explanation on it. Even, you know, the PO should have something like that. So if, you know, he's leaving now, so we're gonna have to rely on you a little bit more, Sean, okay? If she goes through the bills and there's any question at all where things belong, what cubbyhole they belong in, and she's gonna have to get a hold of, I guess, me or somebody.
Yeah, we'll have a meeting here
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
Right. And if there's no PO for that, then put it aside so somebody can say, okay, well, we gotta make sure that this is right. And then it would have maybe a description on it, that somebody would have a clue what it might be, okay? So,
Fuel charges from Don Knowles for month of March,
all right,
62696.
sounds good.
Holden Oil.
Wait. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Holden Oil Profane Division, Pingree Farm Road, oil service, 93164.
Okay.
Holden Oil Profane Division, 401 Central Street, service data, 68536.
Where is this?
Holden Oil Propane Division, gallons of gas, Boxer Road, Station 3, 1702.90. Holden Oil Propane Division, 401 Central Street, gas, 44997.
How many Holden bills are there?
1, 2, 3, 4 I have here.
Well, we're missing one.
So we got the one for Pingree Farm,
You get three.
401 Central, gallon, Boxer
Take a
Road,
note of
and
this.
another one for 401 Central. There's the two 401 Centrals on the same one by any chance? One is a service DAT, and the other one
Yep,
says
you're right, go ahead. Never mind.
Central Street gas.
Never mind, that's good, okay.
Instant signal and alarm, quarterly mounting security, $90.
All right,
J and Phillips Auto Glass, 2008 Ford Series F350 back window, $333.26.
there was a discussion about insurance for that, right?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
So when I talked to him, I caught wind of it because I just happened to be there that day, so I believe the glass is covered for the front windshield, but the back windshields aren't covered.
They're not.
I don't think so.
How did the window get broken?
There was some kind of something happened on one of the sites.
Some guy must have got thrown in the back of the pickup and hit the back window. We could have bought a back rack and been ahead of the game. Milton Cat, parts and service of machine, $3,318.26.
So was that,
That's one we held from before.
is that the one you were gonna look at, Mark? Is that okay?
Which one, I'm sorry?
Milton Cat,
Yeah, that one, I called them and I asked them for a breakdown of the transportation, which is $600, but I think we should pay it. At this point in time, we might get a little bit on the transportation, the 600, but the rest of it, they did do the work.
Yeah.
So we should pay them,
Okay.
but I am waiting for a breakdown of the transportation.
Okay.
and the washer, Analytical LLC, 8 sites, FE-MN-NAPA, whatever, $560. No idea what that is.
It's the required lab system. Okay.
National Grid for 435 Havel Street for chemicals, $151.08. National Grid for 435 Havel Street pump, $77.61. Shirley Brown reimbursement customer water service, $3,000.
Okay.
Unibank quarterly dues, $224.75. Verizon. Phone charges from 2/21/14 to 3/20/14, 34 to 73.
Okay.
Another one for well 3 tank service, same dates, 34/73. One for well 3, 34/73. Another one for alarm circuit, 2/21/3/20, 38/80. WB Mason, box of mailing envelopes, 89.99. Water Department petty cash, postage, certified mail, office for 76.22. For a total of $14,103.37.
Okay. You wanna look at that stuff? And we should talk to John at this point too, after this thing.
A little so upset there.
Well, I think the team's done a good job up there.
How are we doing on the septic and the border around the walls?
I was leading up to that. The border on the walls is gone, we don't care about that.
We are gonna worry about
If
that.
you walk in there, it's not like you look up and say, oh my God, we need a border on the wall.
No, I saw the
It's
gap,
gone.
you know.
I went up to
I
the
don't even see it yet.
I went up to the treatment plant last Monday and looked at all of these as well, and I was gonna come here tonight recommending that we leave the border alone. It's not,
Worry about that at a later date. It's not gonna hold anything up so we can get
I don't think it'll
online.
ever get done, it's a waste of time and money, it's not necessary. But there's a discussion about I was also planning to come here and actually recommend you pay the septic, the sewage tank, the septic tank. But in a discussion with John and with Stu earlier, there are other details that I don't know about, so.
I mean, the septic, they're gonna give us a permit to go, building permit or whatever, so we can move in, right? Until that's taken care of, correct?
Right, that's the veiled threat that I'm gonna get a certificate of occupancy, because nobody's gonna do it. But, make a long story short, I don't agree with the price, so I can't sit here and say, hey, we're all set with the price. I wish I could. So doesn't the contractor and the sub, the electric contractor, and so does Weston and Sampson. A lot of discussion, everybody's sick of talking about it. So why don't they just knock down the price, so I could at least come in here and say, hey, we're kinda close, why don't you just go for it? Stu and I agree that it's way off, it's 10,000 as opposed to something, if it was 5, I'd say, you know, that's a good attempt to negotiate at least, but
Is this something that down the road, when we're all over and done with, that we can use to go back and argue with, you know, with on the
that's what the
final
contract
check?
says. The contract says that. What happens if you can't agree on a change, because the poor construction guys out here, you're not an attorney, you don't agree on it, so it gets kicked up to a claim.
So if we, what I'm asking, if we set that now, when it comes time for the final check,
Well, he's looking for a check for it.
can we argue with Weston and Sampson? Do we have any leg to stand on?
I believe the contract discusses that process, that the contractor owes us a functioning facility. Whether or not we agree on the price now, we can negotiate again and revisit it later.
So in other words, we get a list of 10 things that we're arguing about,
Yeah,
so we get the thing online
yeah.
and everything, and get the building inspector to say, okay, you guys can move in. But when it comes down to, before they get the final check, we can still argue the 89, 10 things.
Correct. That's the way I see it, that's the way it's written here, but it's kind of at the point where we might want a little bit of a backup from town council. Really? Maybe this is the only one, but I'm worried about some other ones coming up between now and the end.
But what I'm saying, we get a list, now we go to selectmen and ask them if we get town council to work with us or something.
I've always been of the opinion that they should be kind of involved a little bit now, like we're closer to some of that stuff than waiting until
Yep.
it becomes more of a problem.
I just, if the thing's ready to go online, I don't wanna hold it up.
Neither do I. So I left that question with Weston Johnson Curtis saying, hey, can you find out from DEP what happens if the contractor decides not to do any work on it? Is it gonna follow us up the startup? And when can we bring in our own people to do it? That's another thing. Can we bring in our own guy? But no, we can't until after substantial completion. Once substantial completion, when the contractor says it's there. There's so much legal stuff going on.
It's out of my range.
It's getting a little bit out of my range too. Maybe we just say, ah, the heck with it, give it to them, because we don't agree with it. We can do that.
Once seals
You guys can
against
vote on that.
stabilized sooner.
And then argue at the end.
Are they,
No,
New cylinder.
what would happen, what would probably recommend to what the vote on is whether or not you just want it to go away, even though it's
No,
Who
overpriced.
would install? Why would
And
they?
agree with the 10.
exactly.
Seals mechanisms.
But what I'm saying, the sewer system, or septic system is not workable, they're not gonna let us have the buildings, the guys who work it. Am I right?
Well, we could tell the contractor, we could write back to him saying, by the way, well, it's a functions facility anyway, and we don't agree with your price. So
Why should we pay for it?
go through the claim process with
See
this
the
one,
sewer
because
was
until we
the
sort
rock
of
and
agree
granite.
on it
That's
at a
what we
future
should-
date. But it's the only one we've got. So there's an argument for just approving it to cooperate with them to get it off the table. But maybe we get hit with 6 or 7 others is what I'm worried about again.
I'd like to see the septic system taken care of so we can open the place.
Yeah,
My own personal,
so would I.
Yeah, I'd go for that if I had a letter before me from Weston and Sampson saying that if we don't approve this $10,000 wiring thing for this septic tank pump, that the plant isn't gonna open up unless you know.
Yeah, the question is, what can we do in a case like this where we can't agree on a price? And we asked Bill Menery that, we asked John Sikora.
well, the only thing I'm asking, John,
Yeah.
at the end of it, before they get their final check and payoff, I don't want that to be one of the things that we're arguing about.
Still
So we
discussing.
nickel and dime, in other words, accept it now,
Yeah,
and then when we get down before they get their final check, we nickel and dime. If there's 6 things, 8 things, 10 things, whatever.
I don't know what the process is.
apparently the process is if you don't agree on the change, you have to ask them to submit a claim. It's another document. Then there might be 4 or 5 or 6 of those, who knows?
Yeah.
This might be the only one.
How are we looking on that 5% bit?
That we're looking, that's a very powerful tool at this point, because 5% is 5% of the whole contract price.
How are we looking though for that?
Meaning, are they?
Did we use 1% or we use 4%?
No.
There's two different 5%.
Yeah, there are 2 5%. The contract is 5% retainage. Then there's the 5% of the contingency amount of the contract for claims that should be set aside, and we're around 1%.
So
It's
we're
phenomenal.
way under it.
On
We're-
one,
we're
may I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
There's 2 5% that we talk about. One is the whole project. As much as it is shocking that the design engineer makes mistakes on a project this size, and regardless of the opinion, if you brought that to court with a 1% change, what we have now, change order, the court's going to give them an attaboy because that's a good job. We're not going to get any money back from them based on, it's going to go to 5% before the designer is
So
considered.
I just want to make sure we don't go over the 5 is what I'm saying.
No, if they've got to go to 5% before they're considered to be negligent. So right now, according to the rule of the law, they're doing a great job. The other 5% we're talking about is for, that one was for the designer. The other 5% has to do with the builder. And that is when we pay them, we keep 5% of what is billed, and we put it in escrow somewhere. And they only get that at the end of the project when everything is complete.
How are we doing on that part?
1%.
We take, no.
Still 1%.
We take 5% every paycheck. Once they do the work, they submit a bill, we automatically take 5% of that and put it away. So of all the bills they've submitted, we have 5% of that money that they have not been paid. That's the second, that's what the bill.
As much as I don't care for the price, I'd like to
So we,
have that.
but we could, I mean, I'm on the, I don't know exactly how to recommend this thing. I can't say that the price is right, but I'm 50/50 on, I'd like to see it go away like everybody else would. I'd sleep better knowing that we don't have to think about this again and give them the 10 grand, but it's not my 10 grand to give.
I would make a motion that we okay the septic system, and then we'll worry about it at the end of it, and fight and argue with them, see what we can do.
Well, when you okay it though,
No, you
you
said
have to
you
think,
okay it,
when
it
you
says
okay,
it's gone, it's done.
It's gone.
I thought you said we could go back at the end of,
you have to ask them to submit a claim to get into that
But
process.
what you're saying is,
I think
if
what
you
you
don't
want
approve it,
is-
they still are required to bill it.
That's the way I interpret
If
this.
somebody's gonna tell us that that is a reasonable cost, he can't do it. He won't do it, okay? The selectmen think it's ridiculous. They've already kind of.
well, I think it's ridiculous, but I was looking so we can get the thing accepted and online,
I know,
and
but
then argue at the end.
it's hard to believe
I'm
that
saying.
they would, not start it up because of a toilet problem, really is.
Well, they're not gonna get an orchestra permit.
So if they don't get an occupancy permit, so, in other words, let's go back and then just put the word, I would recommend that the board get together on this and say, look, we're not gonna go for the 10,000, we're gonna just, unless of course they can come up with a big justification why we can, spend $10,000 on a $1,000 widget.
Right.
Okay, so that's what I want, that's what I wanna see. I wanna see a letter over here from somebody of authority, from either Kinsman or Weston and Sampson, saying that, okay, this is reasonable, you ought to go for it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make the decision here, because everybody is against this.
Yeah, we have that change on right here, and it's,
Well, actually, Weston and Sampson has said that it's okay.
Weston's verbally said, go, take it.
Okay.
That just took quite a few.
And that's their job. And then, we're still
Well,
at
that keeps,
1%, so.
that keeps SRF happy because they're watching their money. It's not ours until it's time to pay it back, actually. But if their SRF money is being watched by Weston and Sampson, that's why we're required to have them there, the SRF money. And if they say it's okay, then SRF is happy.
So my question's verbally, to Sequoia and Nunnery is, isn't there a remedy to resolve the situation? And I know enough about the process that there's a claim process. And
Okay.
Nunnery's like, yeah, that's it, and
Can you ask Mr. Nunnery to come in and present this to us, because there's too many people that are upset about it, okay?
Alright, yeah,
Okay.
we'll get, and then we couple with the same question, what happened if we don't get the COO and we still haven't resolved this thing?
Yeah,
And
maybe we'll get some more clarification on that.
are we exposing ourselves to a problem we don't wanna have? I don't know, but, so, that's it, that's all I can say. I wish I had that.
Yeah, you do it, Mr. Dalzell does it, they work in this field. What is a reasonable cost to wire up a pump?
Well, the biggest thing that sticks out to myself and Stu is the 49 man hours to wire this, the controls only of this pump. And the guys we see do it every day in, day out, and of course it's a house, but I think it's directly analogous to this building. The walls are thicker in this building that they had to go through, so maybe there's an extra few hours there, but it's the same thing. And it's a one day and then two guys.
That's to finish the job. I mean, I'm not sticking up for them. I know it's a little high,
Yeah.
but the reason why it is a bit higher than a house is when the concrete was being poured months ago, they had to come out here and put that conduit in. So they've actually had to mobilize, do a job, go away and come back. Is that worth an extra $8,000? I don't know.
Well, they always noticed the wiring of the pumps, but the controls weren't in the contract. So that's just, maybe we go back and say, can you give us some more clarification, contractor? This gets back to why I said no comment at the meeting. We went around and around so many times, there was nothing else for us to discuss with the contractor at that last project meeting.
I was under the misunderstanding at the last meeting that if we didn't approve it, it wouldn't get done. So if we don't approve it, your belief is that it'll still get done, we won't stop the water treatment plant, and it will get ironed out later on.
Yeah, most public works projects are set up that way. There were times where the contract, you can't agree on it. And it
If
goes
they,
higher.
if they already did any work with this change order on this,
They're well into it, is what I'm told.
okay, so that's why the 40 hours.
I have no idea where that 49 is coming from.
So they've already put time in, they put conduits in and stuff like that.
John says, oh, I watch him working on it all the time. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
You know, they had to put in a panel, they had to put in conduit, they had to bore through 2 walls, they had to put the explosion-proof control boxes in the tank. And they still got to pull the wires and hook it up. Now, I believe that was all extra.
No. The panel and the explosion-proof junction box
That was it, part of the
is
contract.
part of the powering. It's the float switches and the conduit that runs back to the panel. That's the extra.
Mhm.
One would think would be
When was
installed
this?
at the same time.
When was this stuff done?
I started working on it last week. I've been here and there doing some things.
Okay, look, this board has said time and time again, we want a little lead time before they start, have a change order. And we don't want to slow things down either, but
Yeah, and what we've done to address that, what I've done is as soon as I get this paper it's coming across to me, first thing I do is, Carmen, and I get together and put it in everybody's folders.
okay.
One other issue, we'll drop this, I'll continue the conversation with it about it, with Weston, obviously we gotta resolve it. Tomorrow, is that they want a time extension because of the change order work. This last change order bundle, there's individual change orders and then there's the bundle. This is the bundle called change order number 7. We've negotiated a time extension. The contractor asked for 71 days initially. And we went back and told him 50 is acceptable. And then he comes back and he says, how about 65 days? So they want 65 days to process change order number 7, which is here in their hands. You can probably scan through that and remember all the issues that we agreed upon, the amounts. There's a little bit of stickiness on the time extension issue. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't give them the time extension. Because we argue either way. The fact of the matter is, he's looking at the end of the tunnel right now. One reason why he wants the time extension is so we don't go after liquidated damages. This contract's nowhere near that. Going after the guy for liquidated damages for going beyond the contract completion, in my opinion. So.
I'll be so glad when Kingsman's gone.
No, Kingsman's not any problem. I'm the past few months watching them pull that together the way
They're actually doing a good job.
is
And
phenomenal.
believe it or not, so is Weston Sampson.
Yeah, I'd also give Weston a thumbs up on this job. I mean, the 1% says a lot. They're unhappy with the fact that they selected their MEP contractor, Ivy Kimball. There's been a lot of contract changes we've seen here. So I guess to get the change order 7 gone, we have to accept this 65 days.
What does that put us date-wise?
I don't have the actual calendar date on that.
What? I'm kind of missing something. Why is it so important to have a time extension on these?
Why
Pretty
does
much.
it care so much? For some reason, he's doing something like working on the monopole or something else. This is what I assume. This is what I discussed with John Sikora. He doesn't want to be exposed to liquidated damages.
So it's strictly, he doesn't want somebody come back on him and say you were late, and so we're going to take a...
$1,500 a day or something is a penalty.
Okay.
That contract.
And then
So
his progression has been very good, but the 65 makes him feel comfortable as far as nobody coming and making him a big issue of the problems.
right. staffing any more people out there than what he's got,
Yeah.
needs to anyway, but you walk through the plant, everything's coming together.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that we might not be talking about some major problems that come about next week.
Yeah.
During startup, next week is startup. This is all, things that need to be checked out. These are all the loop, descriptions. So he needs to confirm that this all works, which is why Bill Nunnery is showing up, tomorrow and Thursday.
Now, who actually does that? Yeah.
Well, I have to know to recommend payment that it's done and recommend substantial completion is happening. Or we can just maybe just take the word of Weston and Sampson or a combination of both, like we've been doing it. Combination of both.
No, I'd rather take those.
So get back to Nario, he's coming in with the draft O&M manual.
Have a good evening, Jamie.
Selectmen's worried about the O&M manual. I heard that he's coming in Thursday with the draft O&M manual.
Okay. That'll make him happy then, Tom.
Yeah. And not
That's in
necessarily,
a letter as well, isn't it? It has to be addressed in the letter.
Nunnery Shep has attacked with this stuff.
There's no,
And the whole team on everything, from what I gather, I mean, it's gonna go through without any major, problem.
How do you feel in 65 days?
well, let's see, no, it has, Weston and Sampson provided the water board with a staffing plan. So the staffing plan is something that the primary operator is responsible for, with oversight from the superintendent.
Yeah, it's a joint effort, but with regard, it's answerable to the state, I believe, from the primary operator with regard to licensed operators.
Who puts it together, Mark? Weston and Sampson?
Either one of us could do it.
Is it specified in the contract that they do it?
No, I don't think, my belief is that the contractor can't do it. It has to come from the
I'm talking
town.
about the design engineer.
The design, I'm sorry, the design engineer can't do it. It has to be, I mean, they could help us. In fact, they are helping us, actually.
Yeah.
They offered to go to DEP with us to discuss it. They set up the meeting, but we have to come up with the actual plan, and we did discuss it with them. So it's a joint effort between the designer, with me, and the
Okay.
primary operator.
Well, if they had an operations O&M manual to you last month, would it help you to put the staffing plan together?
Let me make a clarification. The first O&M manual they give us is not called that, but they give it to us at the beginning of the plan. I forget exactly what the term is, but they give us everything the way it's going to go. And as the plant gets, it's sort of like when you do drawings. At the end of a plant, there's as-built drawings,
Yeah.
just to get all the revisions put in it. Well, the same thing with specifications. They give you an O&M manual of what to do, and then at the end, they give you another O&M manual, the final one. Now, it's too big for the operators to read. And what happens generally is you get your training one-on-one for each piece of equipment, and it's there for reference for later. It's, as we said at the Board of Selectmen and Water Joint Board meeting, and confirmed by, from Bernie from Pennachuck, it's like, it typically comes at the end of the project.
Yeah.
I'm getting the same information from the designer and from the collaborative between the primary operator. I'm getting the same information now as if, so to answer your question, no, it wouldn't have helped. The information that goes into it, we had to dig for that a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so anyways, I got enough to...
It's not typically done until the treatment plant is done anyway.
Right. Okay.
Can I see that, please?
Okay. So Mr. Nunnery is gonna come in this week and then give us a draft O&M menu.
Right.
And that'll be fine-tuned even further once they extend it up. See if there's
Yes,
anything
most
else.
definitely.
So you want a draft at this point?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
It's in the normal course of events.
Yeah.
Could it have come a couple weeks sooner? Maybe. Would it have helped with what? What was your question? Would it help with the staffing plan?
With the-
No.
Okay.
It was discussed at the last, what was that last meeting? I think it was March 4th or 5th, or March 7th, what was that last meeting? Yeah, I got it right here.
March 25th.
You done with this,
March,
Steve?
March 25th?
No,
Okay, it was
Something to
discussed
say.
in detail, the staffing plan. But it was my belief, I mean, when I was primary operator before in other municipalities, I took it upon myself to write the staffing plan. It was my job. So I was assuming it was our primary operator here, but it was still a collaborative effort. He was definitely, he still presently is involved in it.
Well, we, you're leaving Friday, so the policy now, we set that about, I don't know, must have been 3 or 4 months, that documents going out to the DEP have to get co-signed by the superintendent. Okay,
I don't recall that, but anyway,
that
okay.
was probably before you got here,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
And it was an effort to have less paperwork going out directly from the primary operator directly to the DEP.
Mhm.
So this has been an issue that's been for a while. It just needs an order of magnitude of oversight from our representative to go through that. In the past, the staffing plan was put out by the primary operator with no oversight from the superintendent that I could see. There was no formal, signing off or anything like that. So in an effort to, to do that, the staffing plan has been done in the past, and it was only due to our system, which required a D2 license and a T1 license. Now they're changing it from a D2 T1 license to a D2 T2 license request. And so they want a staffing plan.
That's not definite yet, but yeah, that may happen, but it's not a definite thing.
Oh, it isn't? Okay.
No, I think they have to look at everything. See, they have to come out and inspect the plant and then give approval to start running it and giving water out to the system.
Right.
They need a sequence of things to be done, staffing plan being one of, I should say updated staffing plan being one of them before they say. And they'll make that determination when they come and inspect it. People have a lot of thoughts, and based on history and experience, it probably will go to a T2. But these are routine things we're talking about. It may be new to Rowley, but I say updated staffing plan because these are things that whenever there's a change, if somebody quits and somebody new comes in, it's supposed to be updated. A staffing plan includes the one-page thing. It's usually a list of the names of your operators with their license number. It's just a way of making sure that the operators are licensed and in good standing and so forth. They want to know that. So if you made a form for it, it would be like operator number 1, license number, so on and so forth. And then a short description of how that satisfies your needs. These are very routine things, as is hiring 1 or 2 operators. I mean, I know people are leery about the word contract, but it's not the same as a huge contract thing. These are very routine items. That's why it only was a one-day thing. You can do it in a one-day thing. In fact, I could have gone and just got on the phone and got oral quotes, but just to bring it above board and keep it, make sure it was above board.
No, we all appreciate you doing that.
No.
because this is
I'm
right.
just saying, this is a routine thing. Nothing to get excited about.
In fact, I've seen the staffing plan before. I've seen it, so I mean, I don't know how often it's done, but it's required to be done at this time because we're getting a new plan online, so.
Well, anytime you have a new employee or someone leaves, you need a new staffing plan.
Yeah, so that's the other thing you would do it for.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
They want to know.
When's the last
who your
time they
personnel
did
are.
one here?
They should have done one when when the 3 operators who are here now. Well, there were 3 operators who, 2 new operators and some that left.
Yeah.
When some left, there should have been an updated staffing plan.
Yeah.
When you hired some from Weston and Sampson, there should have been an updated staffing
Yeah.
plan. When Peter got hired, when Glenn got hired, there should have been updates. And these are usually done in an email or something like that. It's a very routine thing. Whenever there's a change, they just want to know. Now, we just happen to see a big change coming with the treatment plant. The treatment plant is not the reason for the updated staffing plan. It's because there's a change. And this is a very routine thing.
Before we get too far ahead, are we gonna, vote on this, the 65-day,
Yeah, we need to know that.
The what?
on the 65 day?
65 days.
Are we gonna vote on it?
Let's shift over here again so we can get John released here. So
Exactly.
the 65-day really has very little consequence to anything here.
But we have to
Most
accept it.
probably.
Most probably.
I can't think of
Okay,
a
so,
major concern to, you know,
because it's only gonna get started up when it's gonna get started up at this point.
he wants to run and go and. just
He
doesn't
wants
wanna
out
be
of
harassed
here.
with the $1,500 liquidated.
And it would please him to go along with the 65 days.
Yes,
Okay. What is your recommendation?
I would say go.
Okay, so let's vote on it.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Okay, do I have a second?
Present.
Present? You're not gonna vote?
Yeah, in other words, I'm not voting.
Okay. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All right, so Stu, you have anything else, Jim?
So just to clarify the septic, I'm gonna ask Nunnery to get involved and either get some more clarification as to why we should.
I think we,
Or how we can deny it.
given the
Go forward.
sentiment that I've seen in recent weeks here, could you ask one of them to come and explain it to us why it's such an imperative change order for such a, why there might be some other things that we don't know about. So I'm looking at it and it says 40 hours, but have they already put 35 hours into it? Is there proactive on it? I don't know.
So someone who, you have a preference, like somebody, Gene or,
Well, what we're trying to say, John, is they're saying it's gonna take 40 hours to wire.
yeah,
If they already done 30 hours of it, then they need 10 more to finish it. It just seems like an awful lot of money, to wire up.
yeah, the 10 grand is for the 40 hours that they.
I mean, part of that done already, and they just trying to finish this up, just let us know what's going on.
I'd like to see Mr. Nunnery in here, if we could. Okay?
When do you want a date?
Our next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight.
Or is it the type of thing that might be able to explain by email?
Or maybe he could a letter saying that this is an explanation of the cost. And I'm looking at that, and I see a bill, and I see 40 hours there, and, how much is already done? That's the question.
Yeah,
They already got 30 hours into it, or?
which they want to be paid for.
Sure.
2
So now
weeks,
that they're
26.
doing change order work without, giving us the,
Well, they're connected back probably to this contract land that it's gonna work. Maybe that's what they're worried about, I'm not sure. But they can ask Nunnery to dig into a little deeper.
yeah, I don't know enough about it to explain it to anybody, so, and do you know enough about it to say, okay, they worked back in, January for 2 weeks putting a conduit in?
The only way you can know that is if you were watching them
Yeah.
and standing there. It's impossible to.
Yeah.
So normally what you do is you go back and you try to estimate what it would take a normal person to do the work.
But, ideally, the person to come in here would be the person that authorized them to go ahead and proceed on doing it. Which would be
They are, but they're probably in the process of proceeding because they have to get the plant to work.
Right. So it's hard to really nail down who was,
Because what they're gonna say to wait for the next 2-week meeting is it's too long to wait, maybe. But I'll get back to you with, gonna tell John that we would like to have an explanation from Bill Nunnery on it.
Do you have a copy for me for that change order? Now, is this something that's recent? Very recent, the change order?
Is there anything in the envelopes back there?
Or is this something that's been around for a while?
I will email it to you.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I can make you a copy of
The only problem is, you know, the information that we are under the impression is that it's putting a pump or a second pump in.
That's the wiring and the controls for the pump chamber.
It's a wire and then the controls. Okay.
There was some thoughts before there was.
Somebody told me it was like a backup pump.
Right. This is clarified, just the controls.
So we got more clarification, so we don't want any more clarification. We want to make sure it's crystal clear before we say anything else, because I think we said so much stuff all together.
It's right up, the pages of the contract drawings are over there,
Yeah.
all towned out, showing the powering the pumps, but not the controls. And the backup to the change order request discusses that, the RFI is, we need controls to the pump. That's what it is. So now why does it cost so much to wire the controls to the pump? Stuff like that. The thought is, hey, it's only 10,000 on a large job, maybe we'll just give it to them because we're under 1%. So, I just recommend that.
Does anybody know how much money it actually costs to put the pumps in and the control wires?
The whole deal?
Yeah.
Well, Stu and I have experienced that being done in 2 days at the most with a guy and a half. You know, the journeyman and apprentice. The electrician typically knocked that out in a day or two at the most.
And they know about our comment there, right? So
Oh, yeah.
why
Say
would
that every month.
they?
Well, then you could take the devil's advocate. Maybe they think they got us a little barrel and they don't really need it. We're going to start the plant and all that other stuff that they're saying. It's just, my thought back to that is, hey, just because we disagree on the price, you know, doesn't mean that we pay you whatever you tell us.
Well,
That's been the problem right along. They come in, they want us to rubber stamp something for them.
Well, this is the only time that I've been sitting there, I can't recommend anything. We did get a little bit of a runaround on the monopole change. We didn't have everything we wanted to change it, but we were told we had to hurry up and change it, else we're gonna hold it to start up. So that's kind of what we would, in that position then.
is all that monopole stuff done?
No, there's a workaround for that.
There's a what?
There's a temporary workaround for that, so that the startup of the plant can go forward, and they can do that over the next month or two, whatever long it takes to get it done.
Okay.
I'm not sure the specifics, but that's, I guess it's under control, it's not an issue.
What's the delay there? Why?
It was weather. Why is it a delay today, and why aren't they working on it today? I'm not
Well, the
sure.
initial delay was from the FCC. I mean, going way back, there was a change in the frequency and we couldn't use the original design.
Yeah.
And then by the time that got implemented and the change order got approved, the weather was, we were into winter. That's what happened.
It's in the machine sitting in the same spot down there at the tower.
Really?
Probably can't get up the hill the way the hill was going up
Yeah.
there.
I guess it was still ice on the hill last week. The north.
That's the nasty hill.
Slope.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay. So what I'm saying on this thing is, I'm gonna try to probably resolve it between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, it's a sensitive issue with us, so, I mean, anything they want to do to help us out at this point is much appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in, John.
Thank you.
Good job, John. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Stu, you had a question on one thing?
I cannot approve this, replace seals and gasket stabilizer in this bill for $274.38. They replaced the cylinder. They want some, the old one, they said they couldn't be repaired, so why are they charging us for seals and a gasket install and replace them?
They did do the 200-hour, was it 2,000-hour checkup?
Yeah,
So that could be from another different,
no, it's on the stabilizer somewhere.
yeah,
And they can see that the old cylinder is out back here, you can see the chrome rod
mm,
is bent. So whatever they have tried to replace it.
Well, is it possible that there are other cylinders on the thing that they did?
They just did this one, remove and install stabilizer
Okay.
cylinder.
All right, let's scratch it off and send it back.
yeah.
I circled it.
Yeah, it gives us a chance,
So
gives
it's
them a chance to look at the transportation.
14,103.37 minus 3,318.26.
No, we did it, but. Good, the old fashioned.
Just the person that writes out the bill here.
Yeah, I talked to them already, we've been exchanging telephone.
All this.
That minus.
Yeah, that could be a mistake.
Yeah, yeah. I'll check on that.
Thank you.
That gives them time to look at the transportation as well.
Okay, so the new price is 10785.14. Okay?
Hi, John.
You wanna double check it?
I don't have to. You do.
I hope I find something wrong with it.
Yeah, you'll gravel on it, you know?
All right, so we're gonna deduct this here from that, correct?
Yeah. What else we got? So,
Okay, I got a couple more things, but, go ahead, up to you. You have the budget?
I gotta give this to Gavin.
You get it right.
He's gonna be right once in a while, right?
well, you know, you gotta do it this way. Because if you don't do it, you're gonna lose your mind. You gotta do it.
Too late.
All right, so that takes care of that. Thank you, Stu. So where's the bill? Where's that bill?
I have the bill
All right,
here.
guys.
I'm gonna make a photocopy of it. I'll give it to Carl and let, oh, look at mine?
Yeah.
Let me take a photocopy and you can leave it in your
Leave it
reader,
aside, so,
please.
we need to put a note on there, okay? Did you put a note on there, what that?
It's circled, yeah. There's two things to check out. The transportation, which I already called them on, and I'll ask them about this as well. We've been playing telephone tag.
Okay. So,
What else we got left?
well, on this thing, this way things happen here. Okay, the bills come in. Bridget takes it under your direction, and then she puts it on the thing there, and you look at it.
What's been happening is, even when I first got here, I was very busy. And my first assignment was half-time, you know, but the second one, full-time, still very busy. And particularly the last couple of years, we've been doing the budget on top of, and the new treatment plants coming online and getting the people and all this
A
good
lot
stuff.
on the plate.
So in practice, what's been happening is she prepares this and I review it as best I can before you see it. Many of these items I was familiar with, and Stu just found that one line item, which is good. In a perfect world, we go through those after the crunch, after the time crunch, we would go through them a little more carefully than what we're doing now. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you want to keep it? Sure.
Okay, so the other thing I noticed.
So Bridget is still acting on her own, actually, right now, to prepare everything the best she can. and then, with Carmen's help, and then I review them after the fact.
All right, so this hasn't changed in many years. You've seen this over the selectmen's, you've seen this. Okay, you got a vendor ID, the name of the thing, you got a little bit of a description, trans number. Yeah, anybody, you know what that means, trans number?
Let me see.
An amount, I can understand amount.
You see, this is part of what we were getting into. Let's see, that might be the transfer number. Something else that's written on every bill, which we don't have on this report. This is not just, but it is the warrant. But the details on each bill, they give the accounts. So when I say in a perfect world, when we have a little more time to spend on it, based on what was developed during the making of the budget, we can now look at we each have a record of each account line item, that's how it was spent. So we can confirm that the money has been spent in the right line item,
Okay.
so we can
Okay,
better
I just-
get a better budget, you know. So we have better tools than we used to.
I know, we're heading there in the
We're
right
getting there.
direction.
We're going in the right direction for sure,
But this has been what they've been doing for the last umpteen years, okay?
for the warrant.
Okay, so we, as a board, look at these bills, and we say, okay, they look pretty good. We might check some things, he might pick up that a gasket wasn't really something that should have been charged. Or, we might pick up this, this was a little bit too much or whatever, but it's hard to pick up anything. But from here, this bill goes downtown, and then this bill mysteriously, I don't know, and I shouldn't use that word mysteriously, but these numbers end up in those categories.
Miraculously is a better word.
Yeah,
Okay,
into this thing,
right.
okay? And so, we don't really decide what categories they go in. That's done all downtown. in the process.
We can decide how to spend it. I mean, in other words, with the peach tree, we can look and make sure, that was the whole idea of getting those reports, so we can make a better definition, so that we can go into the, we can spend the money where it was intended, not
Like
spend it
maintenance or
arbitrarily.
building,
Yeah,
Yeah. But
Exactly.
you could not gather that by looking at this check warrant.
no, you have to look
You
at each
can't-
individual thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't gather it, you could say, okay, the AT&T bill is a phone thing, and you could go in here and you could find, okay, well, that makes sense, but this, it's hard to cross-check this with this, because there's no
Yeah.
cubby hole that it's slated to go into. That's all done down
Well,
on
we-
Main
we
Street.
can- That's the whole thing, the whole new development with this new budget is we can now do that. We can
Okay.
actually go see,
That's good, because that's what I wanted to do a long time ago.
Kim, in other words, when they do that downtown, do they send a copy back saying it came out of 1, 2, 11?
Well, they can do that because they're interacting now with Peachtree. And Peachtree can put a report up now.
In other words, we could have it in a file cabinet out back here, saying that it came out of line.
Karen was doing a few, but Bridget, I can do it now. She can print out a Peachtree spreadsheet,
these
So
numbers
it's what
are
we're
Peach
actually
Tree
gonna
accounts.
which
To
we
let us
haven't
know where
had.
we stand.
We haven't had that.
What's that?
Is Karen's printed out a couple of copies to let us know what we've spent and what's left in the budget.
So we have the capability now,
Yes.
after all these years, to do that, okay?
We might have had it before too, but there was a little lapse with all the change of
Well,
personnel.
there was several other kind of programs that
Yeah.
are involved, so let's take this and put
Okay.
that into the.
Okay, that's for Carmen to bring down, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay, it's okay.
Thanks, Carmen. All right, so the commitment,
Okay,
have you gone through that?
that's the, I did not. That's the commitments for the water bills.
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
Board, but
we're reaping the benefit of Penachuk services now.
Is Penachuk is on
what
this?
they do. This is Penachuk's.
Now, has Penachuk gotten back to anybody here that said, okay, you gotta look at this one, it's kind of a,
Yes, they have most definitely done that.
okay.
They've done a better job than we were able to do before because of time. When we saw anomalies, we routed out the most in previous months that I've been here, I've only been here a few months, but we routed out the ones that were the most obvious anomalies. But they've looked deeply into the ones that, in between our staff and Penachuk, we've done pretty well.
Now, have the guys been going out checking these things that are anomalous?
Yes.
Is there any kind of a time delay between the time they were notified of it and they're actually able to check on things?
This one here.
It's still happening pretty quickly, you know, like within the day or the next day or something like that. I've seen a lot of, I've been copied on the emails between our staff and Penachuk.
Yeah.
And it's getting, I mean, for the short time that Penachuk's been here, we've got it cleaned up pretty fast. I mean, it's a little rocky to start with, but we're getting it smooth and straightened out. Right
Oh,
now.
good. So it's a lot, we're taking a lot of steps in the right direction and everybody's working better together.
That's the
And
plan.
hopefully by the next month we'll be meshed.
Yeah, we had a nice meeting here. Well, we had all sorts of meetings, but we had a nice meeting here between the staff and Penachuk staff. And Carmen's in touch with them every day almost. Are you getting a lot of payments here still, like usual?
Some, yeah,
Yeah.
walk-ins and whatnot, they feel that they wanna pay it, you know, cash, or whatever, so. Just shoot it down to the bank and, fill out a form and I send it to Penachuk and cash deposits that I made.
There's a higher degree in confidence in all the details on this month than there were in previous months. Now, okay, the rebates were in the warrant already, right? Okay, good.
Okay, so on this one here, that they come up with a few and then they check them and then did they do any revisions after that point?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
They fixed them. There were a whole bunch of emails on that going back and forth between the primary operator and Penachuk. And they seem to be satisfied that they're on the right track.
Okay, so is that gonna, Carmine?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Carmine.
You know,
Ready to go with the budget, Mark?
I am, sir. We checked and double checked. I mean, we had to rely on, the one issue that, well, the bottom line is, the rates will not increase, they'll stay where they are. We have the rates analysis from the expert on that. Dave Russell completed his study, and we actually reduced the revenues a little bit to have everything match on the budget. So if you look on the very last, the last 2 pages are the report, is the report for the rates, for the revenues and rates. And that's a report from our consultant, rates consultant. And then the page just before that says revenues on the top. So the third from the end is revenues. You'll see now that the total revenues match the grand total budget from Form 1. As an accounting method it should be. So we have a balanced budget and the rates are the same as last year, even with everything that's going on.
Is Mr. Russell giving us sufficient detail here so we could, you know, look at this next year and say, okay, you know, this is where we should be? Or does he do,
Yes.
should we plan on hiring him next year to look at this?
It wouldn't, it wouldn't hurt to hire him again. He's not, it's not that much money for a lot of confidence, and, I mean, for the budget we're putting together, it gives us a lot of confidence. What he did was, this last 2 pages is really a summary report of what he did, but we've been in contact, and the actual budget, let me see, I think I have notes on this. Yeah, if you go to the 3rd page from the end, again, where it says revenues, the revenues assumes a 5% discount to everyone. That assumes that everyone will take, it's a conservative approach where, assuming everyone will take the discount. It's based on actual usage measured in FY13 at 128.7 million gallons. And that study was done. We took records from FY13 by tier. He went by tier, by user rate, and did a fine calculation on what that would be. So this budget is based on the water usage we had in FY13, but it's not trend analysis. It's actual hard knocks, go into the root of what did we use and so on and so forth. So what we called last week raw calculations. He did raw calculations on this based on our actual usage. So
So our actual usage,
FY13.
how does he know that? Because,
We gave him the records. We have those records.
no, but we haven't figured out the usage for this fiscal year yet.
Not this fiscal year, but not FY14, but he used FY13,
Usage on FY13?
correct? Which prices may or may not be the same 2 years ago, but water usage should be relatively the same. Even if it drops a little bit, we're still gonna be in the ballpark.
Okay, so he feels that with his experience that covers that
Yes.
rates, okay. And the rates are right here.
The rates are the same as you see on your bill every time you get them now. And they're unchanged. But there's more notes. Let's see. The double asterisk there. we
Okay,
have-
so,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, we don't have a rate increase.
No.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the same as last year.
And so,
Same as this year.
so when we go to town meeting, we can say there's no rate increase. That's why we didn't have, we'll have to put some kind of a leaflet together for the town meeting, because it didn't make the warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if the previous budget that we approved made the warrant?
They could not vote on it because the revenues was not done.
So that budget that we voted on last time
It is no.
never made it to that book that's called the town meeting book.
And because we had new information, we inserted the new information and got better results, actually.
Yeah.
So
They
it's
were,
in
they
a
were
way,
waiting for this here to come back, correct?
correct. In a way, it's actually good that it didn't get approved because we were able to get the most accurate information. And
Yeah.
there was, with our old information, there was likely to be a slight increase in rates. But the way we've recalculated, the way we've got the new information, newest information we have calls for flat rates even with the new treatment plant coming online.
Okay.
Even with,
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
What do you think, Stu?
Fine.
Roy?
I'm all set on the budget.
Yeah, this will be
I
taken
just have
care of.
one thing I'd like to bring up.
This-
Well, we're not- we have other items.
Let's vote on this budget.
Okay.
Any changes in the budget, other than the expenses came down?
The expenses came down, particularly there was a lot of consultation and analysis on the energy requirements.
Okay,
And they are substantially smaller than the original estimate, apparently.
good. So that worked out. So everybody got to think about it again, and we inserted the new rates in there. Get new expenses As a consequence of that, the rates remain the same as opposed to going up a little bit.
Right.
We didn't know if it was gonna go up a little bit, but we knew that our expenses came down, and it's not gonna impact the rates. So,
This will be taken up on the, at the town meeting floor to
Yeah.
approve the budget.
right, so, let's approve, let's get a motion.
I gave Jamie a copy, and she's going to the finance committee tonight. I sent her, I was running around before, I sent her an electronic copy, which has
Very good,
all the spreadsheets, so the
Okay.
finance committee does have everything now.
good. So does the town administrator have it on it?
Not the the numbers, yes, the results, yes. I
Okay,
made a couple of page corrections, I'll send that tonight.
okay, so I would like to have a motion to accept this revised budget from our first draft. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the rate structure is not gonna change from last year.
Correct.
Do I have a motion to accept that based on this budget?
I'll make that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Could you tell the town administrator that we voted tonight,
I will.
and we have voted to approve this as the budget, and we feel more than confident at this point, since we looked at this several times, and we're very sure now this is gonna satisfy our needs for the coming year.
As best as we can predict.
Okay. All right, so any other items that,
A couple more. Couple more items. We said as best as we predict, I'm going to submit this to you, this package, where, in case our predictions are wrong, this is a contingency. I don't think from the previous discussion you're going to approve this, but I'm going to submit it to you anyway. And that is, that is an RFP, a quote for individual operators from 5 different vendors, 3 of which reviewed, and that's, we've already discussed it, but that's up to you to approve it or not approve it at this point.
I wanna table that,
I would guess so.
and,
Yeah. But I officially present it to you, that's all.
yeah, I think that, since you're leaving on Friday,
Saturday,
Aye.
actually.
okay, so I think that, given this letter here, I think I need to go and then bring this with me on Monday night to go see the selectmen. And then say this is what our intent was.
And I would recommend, just to finish this up, the inference was that I was doing something corrupt and underhanded, and I've been misjudged, and I request that your letter to them recommend that they send me an apology. I tried to do a good job for you, and somebody could have called me last night if they had a problem instead of the drama. I don't need the drama. I just want to get the work done.
I think you got that.
Mark, I would like to say you've been more than above the board and honest.
This, I mean, I'm
You
sorry.
want-
I think you've done an excellent job.
Just one,
You're one of the most decent and honest men that I have met.
dittos on that, but I want to say that in that time of need, you really helped us with the transition here. So we're going to have to take it from here. That brings us up to the description of our position. We're going to have to advertise that, so I thought it was okay. Stu, did you have any comments on that? You still want to bring it?
I have to go down to the administrator and the personnel board. The administrators have been very, very busy getting the warrant for the town meeting ready and the budget.
Okay.
Not sure have time to sit down with me in the personnel board.
Well, if it needs a vote from this board, I would, I think we need to put a vote forward to move that forward.
We-
But it has to go through those channels.
Yes, when we'll need a vote is when we get the recommendation
Yeah, but,
from the administrator and the personnel board.
okay. So, the motion is to just make sure it gets down to the administrator and the personnel board at this point, sooner rather than later, so we can get this thing going.
It's all being taken care of.
Okay.
One comment on the, when you and I revised or reviewed and revised that job description, we were trying to decide, do we need an operator with administrative experience, or do we need an administrator with operator experience? And I think the way we've written it is good with regard to how it links to the staffing plan. You want this person to be a backup, so that they should, if they don't have a license and you need a good administrator, they can study and pass the test, and then in an emergency, they can actually act as a backup operator.
Well, that makes sense.
So I think the way it sits right now is a good description.
Okay, so we need to have options, and that would give us more options than we had when it was pigeonholed to somebody licensed. Okay. So I will do that. You got a paper clip?
Get you one.
I think there's one more item on the agenda. At least.
And then Roy had something for old business.
Yeah, I just have a question. I know during the snowstorm we left Station 2 gate open, but I've noticed it open an awful lot lately. Is there a reason for why that's being open, left wide open at night?
I don't.
It was open tonight again when I came,
Station 2?
Yeah.
Well 2?
by the ball field. I'm just wondering why the gate's left open. It should be closed and locked up.
Yeah.
Especially with the baseball season coming, because we're gonna have people packing in there if we don't have that gate closed.
Well, we already did a policy too, to have these gates closed. They haven't been closed in a while.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, during the snowstorm, I can understand it, but that's gone by.
Okay.
Yeah, if we don't police that, DEP will. And we gotta make sure it's closed.
No, I just noticed, I mean, when I go home at night, I notice Station 2 is open quite often lately.
Right, thank you for mentioning that. There's one other item regarding the, I went to a meeting on Thursday with interdepartmental meeting from fire department, police department, highway department, and water department, and with Chairman Snow and with the town administrator. And the purpose of it was to, it began with a review of our purchasing laws 30B. And we were under the assumption before that if each department didn't go over the limit, we didn't have to go off for competitive bids, so on and so forth. This board has already instructed me to go get competitive pricing on gasoline. So that's already started anyway, but now it's at a town level because it really matters in terms of the purchasing laws. It's been determined that from a collective point of view, all the departments together, if they go over the limit, the town has to go get competitive biddings. So what we've been doing is gathering data on the vehicles we have, moving over the road vehicles, stationary vehicles, anything that burns fuel or gas, and not just for gas, but also for general maintenance and for specialized maintenance. And that could be for a generator or for a cat, for backhoe or something like that. So this is an urgent matter, and they gave us 2 weeks to go do our research. and we got a good start on it. The highway department is taking the lead on making the first draft for the RFP. I believe that, I'm not sure, but I believe the town administrator will handle the actual amount. I think so. According to that, it goes over, if it goes over $25,000, the chief procurement officer is the town manager. And I can give you this copy. This is an updated January 30th, 2014 of the purchasing laws. I won't be here, but I've assigned, I thought it was a good project for our 2 secondary operators to do. And I'm going to ask them to go to the meeting for me. Of course, they can't go for me because my assignment is officially over on Saturday. But they need to represent, someone needs to represent our department at this meeting 1 week from Thursday at 10 o'clock downtown. So if you have no objections, I'll send the 2 secondary operators.
Well, how long will it take? I mean,
An hour or 2.
What's the date, a week from Thursday?
so what's the meeting?
17th, thank you.
What's this meeting?
I'm sorry. It's to bring together a first draft of the RFP for fuel and general and specific auto repair, and even things like radios, so on and so forth. But recognizing that each department has individual services, but when you put them together, we go over limits.
See, I think we really want them to just worry about the clean water, I suppose.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
is there any chance that you were on that day? You missed a vehicle.
What's that, Nelson?
What day is that?
It's a Thursday morning at 10 o'clock.
You were on Thursdays?
It's a week from Thursday, 10 o'clock.
I'm trying to make it that way.
Yeah.
What did it say, 17?
Yes.
17.
It's all about,
Either you or Stu would be a better candidate to go down there than.
I would think so.
You guys
It
are
depends
already
on,
going to a selectmen's meeting, so you guys gotta do something.
if you're looking at capacity development, you try to build people up, but I think in terms of specialists in the area, they know vehicles too, but probably not as well as Roy does, or Stu for that matter.
Carmine, would you be kind enough to make some copies of that?
Yeah. I'll take my notes.
Roy is reading.
Do you have anything else?
Just the one thing I gotta say is that, we're very, very appreciative of your help.
I did my best.
We think you did a wonderful job.
You got an excellent job.
Thank you.
We couldn't be more pleased with your performance. And if you decide we're gonna advertise that position, we would hope that you might be interested in applying for the position again.
I have a commitment, a 9-week commitment that I took on thinking I would be free. Otherwise, I would stay now, but I have a commitment I have to take.
Okay, so, we're gonna get this thing through processing and get the thing advertised, and we would just hope, that you might, be interested in the position, or maybe you might know some folks that might be interested that you could recommend. So we would value your opinion. And that's something we want you to, we want to wish you the very best of luck if you decide that, you're going to be down in Oxford for the rest of your life.
If you keep the my email open, I'll check it and when I can. I'll be busy for 9 weeks, but when I have them, at least once a week, I can review emails if there's something important.
Yeah.
I'll be in China, but I can get the emails from there.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that very much. If there's some loose end that we're not sure about,
Sure.
so that if you guys have any questions, I'll email him.
When are you planning the next meeting, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Week from Thursday.
And 2 weeks from today is your next
Well,
meeting, so you'd have time to, as a reminder for the following Thursday.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, anything else, guys?
Before you go, I'm trying to, I mean, this was part of my staffing plan thing. I can still put together the staffing plan, but I think I might just give everything to Glenn and let him do it, and let him deal with it with Weston and Sampson are helping with him, and he would go to the meeting at DEP and go for that. But I think at this late stage of the game, I would leave too many things unfinished. So I think it's time to turn it over while I can, and let him deal with it. I had hoped to get it done. I had to hustle to get this done.
Well, your procedure on handing it over to him to do it, make sure you CC me on it so I can track
Of
it.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. As I normally would,
Yeah,
actually. I always keep the board informed. I always copy the chair of the board to make sure they know what we're doing, as I did with this package.
And just one more thing is we might have to hire somebody temporarily to fulfill Mark's duties here starting next week, so I don't know how that's gonna work out, so.
He'll be fine without me for a while. I mean, everything's gonna operate. You know, the biggest thing was the budget. We had to get the budget done. And here, I didn't leave you in a bad place. I could have left you in a better place, but not much better.
Okay,
Definitely better off than when I got here.
all right.
Mark, once again, I want to thank you for all you've done for us.
Thanks, sir.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Pleasure working with Mark.
So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll make that.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.